Wait a minute, I don't know how to drive stick. Alright, so you want to learn how to drive stick. Well, this video is going to teach you just how to do that. So to start, I'll go over the basics, the things you need to know. So the two main things you're going to need to know when you first get into a manual car is that you now have 3 pedals. So we've got this third pedal all the way over here on the left, and that is our clutch pedal. I'll get into what that does in a second. And then the second thing you need to know is this gear shifter here is different from your automatic. So normally in an automatic you have park, reverse, neutral, and drive. However, now we've got our numbered gears. In this case, it goes up to 5 since this is a 5-speed transmission. And then we've got a reverse gear here. And then in the middle here, in between all of the gears, is neutral. So now that you know how the gears work, the clutch. So the clutch you're going to use anytime you want to move this from gear to gear. So if you want to put it into first gear, take it out of first gear, put it into reverse, anything like that, move it from first to gear to second gear, any sort of movement, you always need to put the clutch in while you do that. Now the other thing you're going to need to know is the parking brakes. So automatics have parking brakes too, but a lot of people don't use them just because they can put the car in park and it's a lot simpler. Now in a manual car, you want to use this when you're stopping the car and you don't want it to roll away from you. Alright, so now that you know about the gear shifter and the clutch, it's time to start the car. So to do that, just like in an automatic, you're going to put your foot on the brake, but then you're also going to need to put your left foot on the clutch. So once you have that done, you can go ahead and start the car. Now once that's started, before you let off the clutch, you're going to want to make sure that this is in neutral. Now like I said, that's in between all the other gears. Now to make sure it's in neutral, you're just going to want to shake it left to right, and that tells you it's in neutral. So once you know it's in neutral, you can let off the clutch. Now if it were in gear, you would know, because when you try to shake it left to right, it's going to not move very much and it's going to be a little bit stiffer. Alright, so now that you've got the car started and you know that it's in neutral, you can go ahead and let off of the clutch. Nothing's going to happen. So now we're going to talk about getting the car actually moving. So to do that, there's a couple of steps. It sounds a lot more complicated than it really is. So put your foot on the brake, put the clutch in, and then put the handbrake down. With the handbrake down, you can then go ahead and put it into first gear with the clutch pedal in. You'll know it's in first gear by following this pattern on the top here. So since first is up and to the left, you're going to go left and up. So now that it's in first, you can go ahead and let off the clutch slowly while you give it a little bit of gas to get the car moving. That's the tricky part. It takes a little bit of practice and timing to get down, but once you get the hang of it, it's a lot simpler than it seems. The first couple of times it'll be a little bit rough, but as you practice, it gets better every time. So like I said, then in first gear, slowly let off the clutch while giving it a little bit of gas at the same time, and the car is going to start rolling. Once it starts rolling, and once you are letting off the clutch pretty much to the top, you can just let your foot off the clutch completely, and from this point it's just like driving an automatic. You give it gas and you brake when you need to slow down, except if you'll notice, if you continue to give it gas, it keeps getting louder and louder. So then what you need to do is you need to shift. So to do that, you're going to put the clutch in, let off the gas, and then put it into the next gear, in this case it's second gear, and then do what you basically did when you first started getting the car moving. Let off the clutch and give it a little bit of gas. And now we're in second gear. So now that you're in second gear, say you wanted to stop. So to stop, just like in an automatic, you'll put your foot on the brake, but then before you come to a complete stop, when you're still rolling, you want to put your foot on the clutch and put it back into neutral. If you don't put it back into neutral, the engine's going to stall out, which just basically turns it off. And you never want that to happen. So as you slow down, you just want to make sure you put your foot on the clutch and put it back into neutral. So I'll go over that a few more times because, like I said, it's the most tricky part of learning stick. It's getting that timing down and just remembering every time you got to put in the clutch. So We'll do that again here for you. Put the clutch in, put it into first gear, and then give it a little bit of gas and let off the clutch. And we start moving. As we pick up speed, we're gonna shift to second. So we're gonna put the clutch in, let off the gas, move that down to second, and then let off the clutch and give it a little bit of gas again. And stopping, same thing. We'll put our foot on the brake, put the clutch in, put it into neutral, and come to a complete stop. As you try this yourself, you might find it difficult to get a smooth start. You might notice the car is shaking back and forth, or even turning off when you're first starting to get it moving. Now, if that's happening, a lot of times when I see beginners, if I try to teach somebody, a lot of times people like to let off the clutch a lot faster than they're supposed to. So you really want to make sure you let off of it slowly and that you give enough gas, but not too much. So what I like to do is when I'm going to start going, so I have it in first, I like to give it about 1,500 RPMs and then let off the clutch and try to hold those RPMs consistent the whole time. As you let off the clutch more, you'll notice that you have to give more pressure on the accelerator to keep those RPMs consistent. And like I said, it seems really confusing at first, but as you practice it, it gets a lot easier over time. So do that again here for you. Let off the clutch slowly, give it a little bit of gas. Pick up a little speed and shift to second, clutch in, down to second, clutch out. Stopping, foot on the brakes, clutch in, neutral, and stop. So there you guys have it. That is how to drive stick. Like I said before, it can be difficult at first, and it seems a lot complicated a lot more complicated than it really is when you first start to learn. But as you practice it and get the hang of it more, it gets a lot easier over time. So next time you're running from a zombie apocalypse and you can only drive a stick shift car, you'll know how to escape. Thanks for watching. Have a good one.